Hey everyone, it is Wednesday, November 4th, 2020, and you are listening to the MC Gamescast. I am one of your hosts, Mitchell Barrett, and I am joined by the other host of the MC Gamescast. That would be twitch.tv/Charzar81, Charlie Zarzuela. Charlie! What's up, dude?
I hereby claim that I did not miss out on the PS5 pre-order, and my PS5 will be coming next week.
Woo! Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen,
I wish.
I'm going to be 100% honest with everybody that is listening or watching. I did not know that. That is breaking news to me. That's fantastic, dude.
It happened.
That's fantastic, dude. I am happy for you. Oh, man, we are 1 week away. We are right in between. Yesterday was the 1 week till Xbox. Tomorrow, 1 week till PlayStation. So we're here. And in fact, the title of this episode is The Calm Before the Storm. Because it's the final week without new consoles, Charlie. We'll probably talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But Charlie, how was your weekend, sir?
Gosh, it's been forever since the weekend, hasn't it?
Oh, boy. Yeah, it feels forever.
Halloween. We had a little bit of a Halloween celebration. Went to a friend's house, had a COVID-friendly, very close-knit group celebration there. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it. I scalped my yard, which sorely needed it. Enjoyed some really, really great weather. Month-end close started, and all I could think of was, when is this podcast start? Because, there was really nothing else going on in the last couple of days.
No, I mean, we had to postpone by a day, really for no reason. I mean, nothing happened yesterday that is really important to, here, this country, or maybe even the world. I don't know. It was weird. We also did the Halloween thing. We actually did trick-or-treating, which was weird because one, way less people giving out candy, way less people going out and getting candy, and the ones that were doing it in pretty kind of unique and interesting ways. Some did the prepared little, Ziploc bags full of candy and told you to take one. I would just like to get this out of the way. I am a good father. I told my kids to only take one. We did not go overboard as much as I wanted to. But it was a good time. The little boy, he dressed up as Buzz Lightyear, and Zoe dressed up as Jessie from Toy Story. So it was a Toy Story Halloween. My mother-in-law got them the costumes and got my 5-year-old a size 7-8. So it was really big on him this year, and that just means he can probably be Buzz Lightyear for the next 3 or 4 years.
There you go. Pay it forward.
Absolutely. Then watched crappy football on Sunday and Sunday night, and then last night nothing happened. I don't know. It was weird. Nope, it was election, and we're gonna stay away from that.
That's a great movie.
I know, it's
How'd you like it?
Oh, it was very tense. We're a video game podcast, so we'll stay away from that. There might be something about that later in scatter shooting, but we'll never. The world may never know. Before we get to what we're playing, Charlie, I wanted to announce that here in 10 days from now, Saturday, November 14th, on twitch.tv/Team Llama Squad, I will be doing a 12-hour marathon stream for Extra Life. We are teaming up with the greatness of GiantBomb.com, which is a website for video games. Join their team. I have selected a modest goal of $500 to support Cook Children's here in Fort Worth. Charlie, I don't know if you're that familiar with Cook Children's. I don't know if this is fortunately or unfortunately. I am.
No. I guess
My
fortunately I'm not.
Right. My son has had to stay at Cook Children's before for a few days. It might be the best hospital I have ever been to. They are fantastic. It's such an incredible place. And what those people do is incredible. And so we're going to be raising money to donate to Cook Children's via Extra Life. And Charlie will be joining me for some, if not most, of that stream. Charlie and I have been talking about doing some different things, playing games together, doing some community stuff. We may or may not do kind of an impromptu podcast type thing. And so, yeah, we'll probably have more on that as the week, gets here. We'll probably actually have more information next week. As we get down, we're going to have some cool donation goal kind of rewards. One thing, Charlie, is I got my merch store open.
Nice.
And one of the things I want to do is, if we hit a certain level, maybe give away some of that stuff. I'm hoping that by this weekend...
What are you giving away?
Like a t-shirt with my dumb avatar on it. And also, if we get back our podcast logo by this weekend, I thought maybe we could give away a nice t-shirt or coffee mug with the MC Gamescast logo on it.
Nice.
But we're thinking about doing some things, with that, and it should be fun. We're thinking about closing the night off with a nice bit of Among Us, because we've played a little bit of that and seen other people stream it. So it's going to be a great time. Charlie, I'm glad that you're going to be able to, be on there for a good portion on it, if not the whole goddamn thing. There's a bit of unnecessary cussing for you. So
gotta get it out, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. So Charlie, thank you so much for joining me for that, and I hope you guys will all join. We'll put some links up with our VOD and audio podcast if you guys want to get some early donating going. And so join us for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. 12 hours is a long time. It's a long time. So so that'll be fun. Let's talk about video games. Do you like video games, Charlie?
Dude, if you couldn't tell by my list, I love video games.
Yeah,
Do you like video games?
Well, I like certain video games. I'll just get out of the way first. Rocket League, of course. But I did play. I did kind of pick back up Call of Duty Warzone, and it is. They were doing their Halloween event. They did zombies and things like that. I played the zombie mode. I did not like it. I did not like the zombie part of it very much at all.
Why not?
Well, when I play games like that, I want to play Battle Royale. And basically it just became Battle Royale and having to get away from all these zombies. And then when you turn into a zombie, the 4 times that I turned into a zombie, when I found someone, they shot me with 1 bullet and killed me. Like you can get killed very quickly in that. And so I don't know. I didn't find it to be very fun. They did institute. They did put, that makes it sound so official. Conglomerates. No, they put some of that Halloween stuff into the regular games, as you saw, Charlie, in a specific way, where some of the weapon boxes and crates, you'll open them, and sometimes they'll give you a nice jump scare. They did a really good job of making you forget that that's a thing. And they'll let you open like 20, 25 boxes in a row without it happening. Sometimes going full games without it happening. And then you're like, oh, the Halloween thing must be over. And then you open one and bam, it's in your face. And there's a good clip of me being scared because I'm a little pansy.
Not this box, this box.
Yeah, this box. But it's been a while since I've played Call of Duty Warzone. So getting back into it, that game's still great. It's really fun. I can't wait until December, which we'll talk a little bit about later, I believe, in the news. Once Cold War comes out and they start kind of putting that stuff in there. But that's really all I played. Charlie, since you need to take up a majority of this podcast with what you've been playing, I'm going to go ahead and let you get to it. What's what what of the 35 things that you played with this week? What's the first thing you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to start off with Rogue Legacy 2. Obviously, it's still kind of an early access on. I played it on Steam, and I didn't even realize this. I just kind of stumbled upon it when I accessed the game that there was a Far Shores update patch, basically expanding it even further, adding adding bits and pieces to the classes and such. That game is awesome. That game is really, really good. It is coming along nicely. I found myself getting further in this edition of the game than I ever had in the previous game. The Ranger, the Archer, basically is probably one of my favorite classes in that game, just because you get to launch projectiles from afar. It's very crisp. The controls are very, very good. It's very almost, one-to-one. The animation, while it's less, this one's it's more polished, where the first game was very, sort of on a two-dimensional scale. This one's got depth to it. And it's really, really nice. I love what they've done with all the different Metroidvania castles and levels that, it's constantly changing. And with its limited capacity, it's amazing how deep this game is currently, and the potential that it has. So
yeah,
that was a lot of fun to play.
So real quick, I'm sorry, I want to ask you a question. So one thing that that they talked about with the early access is that when they weren't going to just do these very small incremental updates, that when they did their updates, they were going to be updates, like big beefy updates. Would you say that that's the case with this first one? Is it a pretty beefy update in terms of the map additions, and then kind of the additions to the the gameplay itself?
Yes, I believe so. Definitely. It's all dependent also, because again, I wasn't that great at Rogue Legacy 1. So getting far into that game like that, like Spelunky, you can only see how deep it is based upon your performance at it.
Yeah.
I would say that, based upon my performance at this one, I got even deeper. I could only imagine how much, beef they've added to it that I haven't even explored yet. And again, I literally was just playing it in passing. And it basically struck me that I need to play this a lot more in the next coming weeks. But yeah, that was the first game that, I wanted to highlight as what I've been playing. Super Picross for the Super Famicom on the Switch through the Super NES channel. I believe I've covered all my bases there. I didn't know what this was. I had to, mention to you, like, hey, have you seen this thing? It's got Japanese characters on it. It's got Mario's face on it. It wasn't until I watched another fellow streamer, pretty much listing out the top Mario games and stuff like that, where I basically asked him, like, how does this work? And, we actually had a one-to-one. It was kind of cool, where he, tutorialized how Super Picross works. Very much like Minesweeper or whatever. It's like this one's based on a two-dimensional crisscross plane, where it gives you numbers, and there's a grid underneath it, or underneath and to the side, where based upon those numbers, there's like basically a character or a image that you're trying to uncover. And obviously you don't want to click the boxes that are encasing the image, and you only have so many turns before your game is over, or so many mistakes before your game is over. And so I'm still trying to understand that. It's a really really cool puzzle game. I love puzzle games that ignite my brain cells basically.
Yeah, like I first of all, I was shocked you'd never heard or played a P-Cross
No,
game.
I have heard of it, but I was
Well,
like,
but I mean, but never
yeah, I
really seen
never.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been playing those. Like um, it's not the same thing, but you were talking about how you love those kind of things that kind of really get your brain going. Like I love Sudoku a lot,
Oh yeah, I destroyed
and
Sudoku.
I'm not good at them, but I love crossword puzzles. But the P cross, whatever, for whatever reason, I I love doing those. And like I was telling you, um, the Switch is a great system for P-Cross, especially modern P-Cross, because you can get a stylus for it and be able to play it on the screen if you're in handheld mode, meaning you don't have to use the Joy-Cons, which is always
Sure.
a good thing.
We will
Um,
discuss that
right.
in a
And
second.
but it is such a neat. And the thing that I like is that there's been a lot of Nintendo P-Cross games where it's implemented all the Mario stuff and all the Nintendo stuff, which is always cool. But yeah, I told you, Charlie, that once you get past Super P-Cross and when you're ready for more, I've got recommendations for you, because you can get some really good P-Cross games on Switch for like $5. Like, it's not expensive at
Yeah.
all. So P-Cross is great. What else you got, bud?
So I did a casual stream on Sunday night of Mario Kart 8. Um, Again, I'm full bore back into Mario Kart. I cannot wait to get Mario Kart Deluxe. That game is so pretty. That game is gorgeous. I've been flip flopping between that and obviously the original Super Mario Kart, on the SNES channel on the Switch. It's 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 amazing to see how far it has come. It's essentially just the same game, but the fact that they've gone from that what is that engine that the Super Mario Kart was based
Oh,
upon?
Mode 7.
Yeah, Mode 7,
Mm-hmm.
where basically the world, revolves around you, to this,
It's like Soviet Russia.
I want to say 3.5 dimensional treat
Right.
that lands in your lap. Like, races are just, you are going topsy turvy, upside down, inside out. It's very hectic all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much fun, especially once you get to the higher CC levels.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Um, and you can't help but get hypnotized sometimes by the gorgeousness of every track.
Right.
Like, that's honestly the reason why sometimes, like, I'm actually starting at a lower level just to get all the feels back,
Yeah.
just to get all the maneuvers back, and back my muscle memory back, to waken them up. And sometimes I literally get trapped in, like, staring at this Donkey Kong Country jungle-esque
Mm-hmm.
minuet that I'm just like, oh my god, like, and we've discussed this. This is probably one of the best games that came out on the Wii U.
It might,
And
yeah, it might,
so,
it might be, yeah. It's definitely top three. I mean, you could argue it's the best.
yeah,
And well,
I
and
can't wait to see what it does with the deluxe.
well, and I've seen the Wii U version before, but kind of in passing. Like, I mean, I just never really
Yeah.
watched it. But watching on there, I was taken aback how good it looks, because it looks phenomenal on the Switch. Of
Mhm.
course, it's a lot cleaner. It runs a little bit better, but it's really gorgeous on the Wii U. And we talked about this. We've talked about this a couple times on and off air. Um, Super Mario, or Mario Kart 64 brought that game into 3D, and of course at the time we loved it because it's Mario Kart. But man, the going back and playing it, it feels really slow. Like, but as the games
for sure.
as the games have come out, new games have come out, and especially with Mario Kart 8 and the deluxe version, the sense of speed is incredible. It feels so good to play that game. The amount of tracks that are in that game. I love that they do the 3D versions and upgraded versions of classic maps.
Oh yeah.
That's really awesome. And then just the sheer amount of characters. It almost has a Super Smash Brothers level of characters to that game, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's I will say this, it really does make me wonder, where can this series go? Because I mean, 8 is incredible. And they're going to make another one. They're going to make 9. Should they? Because
I mean,
I don't know what else you do, because 8 kind of feels like this big kind of tip, the apex of it.
It's the apex, yeah.
And they brought all those old maps back. It almost
pinnacle.
It feels like it's the greatest hits album of the entire series. So what do you do with 9? I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't, because I love Mario Kart, and especially latter day Mario Kart. But I just wonder what that would look like. But yeah,
well, I would love for an expansion to include certain levels from Odyssey.
Sure. Breath of the Wild.
I was gonna say I haven't played it, but perhaps Breath of the Wild, stick that in there.
See, and I'm less worried about the maps. I'm more worried about what can they do to that gameplay to where it'll feel fresh. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but
I'm just thinking.
Yeah,
AR.
Well, I mean, they already did AR with but yeah, I wonder if there's really anywhere it can go aside from, hey, we made a new one. It's really pretty and it's got these new maps, but it still plays like Mario Kart, which in a way is fine, but I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting. What else you got?
I mean, it's definitely made leaps and bounds, it seems, every generation.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
I agree with you. It seems like they've hit that ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
What can they do to break that ceiling higher?
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yep.
Another great game that I ventured in on my Switch was Super Metroid. It was not too long ago, actually, that I actually beat that game for the first time on my Wii U. And so just kind of sitting there, and this was actually last night during the aforementioned elections, that I was like, you know what? Nothing's changed. The numbers are the same on that screen. Let's see if I can hit up something with Samus. And I will say this. Oh, how can I be polite about it?
You don't have to
be.
The
Joy-Con, I understand what they are trying to do. They are trying to make it malleable, where any game that's in that library can be utilized via handheld, via, connected to your big TV, using your Joy-Con like solo, or using a Pro controller, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain situations that you're just like, well, this is how I want to play it. Maybe I shouldn't be complaining too much, because if I were to play this on the Joy-Con, or not the Joy-Con, my Pro controller, I would not have this issue. So, Super Metroid, you're giving Samus her default gun, then you eventually level up to different types of rockets, different types of extra weaponry to get deeper into the game. There is a portion. There's a mini boss. It's this weird piranha plant looking thing that just constantly bouncing around the screen while you're shooting these little spores that are coming down at you, and for some reason they're hurting you. It's so dumb. Whatever. That's how the game is designed. Well, you have to switch back and forth between your default gun, which is, this was just a complaint about that level anyway. Why rockets can't kill spores? Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to use your default blaster to shoot the spores, and then switch off between that and your rockets to do damage to the mid boss. So the way the Joy Cons are designed, you have this ginormous space between your left thumbstick or whatever and the minus button, which is your select button and stuff. Now you can use either the analog joystick, which is, you know, it's better to use when you're playing Metroid, or you can use the D-pad, which is, you know, I don't like that thing anyway. It's four different buttons. It's not a D-pad. It's four directional buttons.
Worst D-pad ever.
And having to, maybe it's just the fact that I'm still not as familiar with this thing yet, playing in handheld, but it just seems bulky in my hand when I'm having to literally look away from the screen when it's a very quick twitch moment in the game, just so I can switch my weapons off. And again, when the animation for the mid boss to basically become weak and allow you to shoot it with the rocket, it's not a very, you know, large window. It's a very tight window. It eventually closes back up again, and then it starts bouncing around the room. And I just was feeling this constant frustration, and now I'm starting to understand why there are a lot of complaints regarding the Joy-Con just for this specific game. I can only imagine for other games. I've tried playing Odyssey with it, trying to throw your hat, you know, around the thing. I had to basically take my entire unit and fake throw it like a hat.
Yeah.
Which it's heavy already, and I was scared that I was going to let it go.
Yeah, it's just like you said at the beginning of this, like I get it. I get some of the design of it. Like I understand that they had to make it smaller in hand because their target demographic skews much younger than your Xbox and PS, you know, PlayStation. So I get it, but also I feel like that they never made an option aside from spend $70 on our Pro controller. Like, it's just like, I get it, but also, yes, it's going to skew younger, but there's a lot of people, at least half of your install base is going to be adults. And the controller does not feel good in an adult person's hands. It doesn't. And it's every single game. Like, it's okay for Breath of the Wild. It's okay. It works fine. It's okay for Odyssey. But there are certain, if you're going to make the Super Nintendo and the NES stuff a central part of your service, which they are, that it doesn't work for those. It just, they feel bad. Playing Super Mario World or any of the Mario games on the Joy-Cons feels really bad. Just the button placement, and then just, you know, how small it is, and then that D-pad is trash. And so it's very unfortunate, and you can get third-party stuff that works better. Like, you get third-party Joy-Con stuff that is better. In fact, I have a left Joy-Con that I bought that the stick is slightly bigger, and it's an actual true D-pad, and it works way better. And so, but I had to go out and buy it. I had to go out and spend extra money on it.
Yeah.
I've had to spend, you know, extra money on accessories to make it feel comfortable to me. And I don't know. I think that's not great, but whatever.
I mean, Nintendo's been doing this since the Wii.
Yeah, absolutely.
With Pro controllers and stuff like that. Like, if you want that, you know, that classic feel with one controller in your hand, action buttons on the right, D-pad and movement on the left, you know, with an extra, you know, right stick for looking around or whatever it does. Yeah, they've been doing that since the Wii. So,
well, they're the Apple. You know, they're the Apple of video games.
Yeah,
it's all about spending the extra money on their dumb accessories.
Yeah, so. And you know, again, Super Metroid is a great game. You know, I would declare that probably playing it this in this manner is probably taking a step back.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, if I play it and use my Pro controller and play it on the big screen, it might be a lot different. But it's still a great game. Like, it looks fantastic. It plays fantastic. It still has all the feels of Super Metroid that I remember.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
there was that game, and then so over the weekend, last weekend, I had this weird trip down memory lane because I was talking with Aaron the Great's husband, who is big into the Old Republic, the Star Wars game.
Star
And boy,
Wars.
did we talk shop regarding the Old Republic. Um, Long story short, I don't play MMOs. I just don't. That is just not my cup of tea. I get why World of Warcraft is great for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That just is not what I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Starting with time.
yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Um, I know that. So I was a huge, huge KOTOR fan. Knights of the Old Republic when it came out for the original Xbox, and when the second game ended, I was like, you're obviously left with a cliffhanger there, spoilers, and I'm looking forward to the third one. And then when they announced that it was going to be an MMO, I was like, oh, are you kidding me? And like, well, that's it. I'm just going to have fond memories of playing KOTOR. Maybe I'll play it on my 360, every now and then, whatever. Well, then talking with him and just, my eyes were open to the fact that the story continues in that game. You can play it completely separate from all the MMO action. Obviously, the bulk of the game is playing with other people, and it's very advantageous for you to do that. But you can also play the game, just play the campaigns and the story. There's 8 years. This thing came out in 2012. There's 8 years of content in this thing. And so I got home and I'm already like, oh God, how do I beef up my computer? What kind of gaming PC am I going to get next? Because I really, really want to play this thing. And then I'll look over because I've got like a stack of games, and I see the original KOTOR, and I fire that sucker up on the 360, and that game is still really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Timeless.
It is BioWare classic, your RPG, dice roll, not really turn-based action, but there's kind of a turn-based element to it when you are fighting enemies in the game and minions and such. Very, very strong role-playing game core to it, where you're just constantly trying to customize your characters. I love the story of Revan, of Malik, of Bastila, and like I was like, oh, do I want to stream this sucker again? Because I would love to like dive down that road, and especially after taking 6 to 8 hours, maybe six, maybe closer to 6 hours of downloading all the content that was needed for the Old Republic, because it's free to play on Steam.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or what Rob quoted, free to try. And I booted up that game as well, and boy, that game looks really, really, really pretty. But it is all PC gaming, and I'm going to have to reassess my PC abilities, because I literally haven't played a PC game since in a long time that requires like movement by the protagonist, rather than just like connecting my a gamepad to the
right
to the PC. But yeah, KOTOR, that game is great. I didn't think I'd ever be sucked into that universe again, and I'm very, very much looking forward to trying not to go down this. It seems like every time I play games like that, I can't help but, because you play the game the first couple times, and you find this perfect build, and you pretty much go to the point where you're like, okay, this is like the character that I excel at, and I have no problems breezing through bosses, in the latter stages of the game because you've maximized your character through certain skill sets that you want. And every time I go into playing games like that, I'm like, okay, let me challenge myself. Let me do something that I don't normally do. Instead of being a dual wielder, let me be, a like a single wield Jedi Sentinel instead of a Jedi, Master or whatever. Let me be the dark side instead of the light side this time. Um, but I'm trying to. It's hard, because especially for RPG games that you just become comfortable with, and like, I never play as the heavy. I always play as like a support because I love the idea that like I can, you know, support myself in those instances, but at the same time support others, instead of being this, ginormous tank or just a pure healer. So
Yeah. Yeah, I played a little bit of the Old Republic probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Played probably 6 or 7 hours, and as far as MMOs go, it's standard. It's your standard, same like WoW, same like all those. But it's Star Wars, and it plays well. I don't know what the state of that game is for. In terms of how far you can get into that game before like the paywall really starts to become a thing.
yeah,
But when I played it a few years ago, I never hit anything that was like, oh, I should probably pay for something. So I don't know.
sure.
That's interesting. Definitely keep us posted if you do
Oh yeah,
get
no,
deep down into it. You got anything else, Charlie?
totally. Nope. If I had anything else, man, no, I'm good, man. That is all I have played.
That's good. One of these weeks I'm gonna be able to, or I'm going to force myself to play other things besides Rocket League. But today is not that day. But that's gonna do it for what we've been playing. Next up is the news. And we actually have a decent amount of stories this week, which is interesting because you would have thought that maybe going into the final week before the consoles come out, that maybe it'd be a little bit lighter than usual. I'll go ahead and start. We actually do have some next generation news to start the news. So No Man's Sky is getting a next gen update. Day of release for both the Xbox Series X/S and the PlayStation 5. It will have 4K support and 60 frames per second. And to go along with everything they've done since the release of that game, 100% free. They're not charging for that upgrade.
Nice.
What that developer has done with this game since the very disappointing launch is utterly incredible and really unlike anything we've seen in gaming, because when games get released, even if they're disappointing, maybe they'll support it a little bit here and there, but it's not like this, where they set out on a mission to make it right. And so it's really cool to see that they're continuing that. I cannot wait to download this. I cannot wait to see what that game is like in 60 frames per second. Because in all honesty, that game runs like shit on the regular Xbox. It's real bad. The frame rate's really bad. And so I would like to see what that game is like in 60 frames. Like I said, I mostly put it on there just to continue to talk about that success story. It's fantastic. And that'll probably be one of the first things I'd really check out in terms of what that backwards compatibility stuff looks like and what, upgrades are done to some of this stuff. So it's great. It's incredibly interesting to see that story.
Do you feel like you're finally getting your money's worth?
Well, see, that's the thing is that back when it was released, I was disappointed with the result, but I liked that game anyway. And I felt like I got a lot out of it and probably got pretty close to $60 out of it. So everything since then, all the enhancements, all the upgrades, all the fixes has really just been gravy.
Excellent.
So yeah, yeah, so for sure I've definitely gotten the most out of that. Let's switch over to the PlayStation. Charlie, big news for PlayStation Plus.
Oh, I'm so upset about this, but I hereby claim
Mm-hmm.
Bug Snacks is coming to the PS5,
Talking
PS
about Bug
Plus
Snacks.
on the day of its release.
Very
In
awesome.
a couple days.
Very awesome.
I was really bummed. Actually, I mean, I was excited, but at the same time, I was so bummed because I was looking up I stumbled across this, and I'm glad this is on here. When I was looking up the Nintendo PS Plus games, or not Nintendo,
Xbox.
the PlayStation PS Plus
Oh,
games.
okay, yeah.
Well, we got all that wrong.
We're doing great.
Um, and I was like, okay, cool. Shadow of Mordor, cool. Hollow Knight, cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Bug Snacks,
Mm-hmm.
really? And then it's a little the tiniest little teasing letters at the bottom, only for PS5. And I was like, no.
But now it doesn't matter because you got one.
I know, right? I hereby claim. Um, so yeah, no, like if you don't know what Bugsnax is, go check out the Sony game showcase that they aired. They they put out on the internet, and it was basically just running everything off of the PS5. It is a really, really good looking game, good concept.
Looks real silly.
It's and
It also
it is a was it a console introduction game. That is
Right.
exactly what it is to a T.
well, and it's exactly in the
And a
it's
new
it's
IP.
it's lighthearted. It looks funny. It doesn't seem overly difficult. And it also includes the hottest video game song of the year, talking about Bugsnax. It looks like one of those surprise hits of the year, and I think this is incredibly smart by Sony to put out that first, hey, one of the games everybody is talking about Bugsnax. Yeah, when you buy a PS5, everybody's going to get PlayStation Plus because, of course, you are.
Yep.
Here is one of the most interesting games of the year at no extra cost. I think it's wonderful. I think it's awesome. I understand why they're doing this. I am disappointed that it's only on PS5 because
Yeah.
I have a PS4 and I really want to play that game. But to be perfectly honest, I think I'm going to get that game for PC. Because it's out. It's going to be out on PC, and it's only $25. So I may get it on there and try that because I really want to try this game. It looks really interesting. Because Microsoft announced their games with gold for November, and it's typical. Here's an Xbox One game you may or may not be interested in. Here's a 360 game you may or may not be interested in. Nothing in terms of the new console stuff. And at first I was like, I understand that. But then when Sony's like, here's a brand spanking new game, here's Bugsnax, I was like, then it just kind of put that into more focus of, it's kind of lame that Microsoft doesn't have anything. That actually might be my favorite story of the week. Because that game looks so interesting to me. Got anything else on Bugsnax?
No. I hereby claim that I have nothing more on Bugsnax.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear what you actually think about that. Next up, Far Cry 6 has been delayed until the new fiscal year, which for Ubisoft starts in April of 2021. It was originally supposed to come out on February 18th. It's been moved back. This is not surprising in the least, just because most stuff is being kind of pushed back and delayed, whether it's COVID Whether it's just delays, this is just kind of how it goes with new consoles.
Well,
Um,
man, after seeing that showcase and that, cinematic,
mhm.
I was surprised when they dropped the February 18th date. I was
Yeah,
like, that is way too
it's way
soon.
too soon because there was no gameplay. It was only the cinematic
Yeah.
showing Giancarlo Esposito as the main baddie. Um, I say it every week. I'll say it again. Games look fucking good now. He looks real good in that game. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's going to be at least April. The fact that they didn't give a specific date and said the fiscal year leads me to believe that's probably a fall game of next year.
Hmm.
That's what I'm gonna guess on that. That sucks. You know, you don't like to see games delayed, especially games that we're kind of interested in, and that I think that's one that we're interested in. We talked
Is
about
that
the
the new thing that we're going to start to experience? I mean, I get with COVID that we're going to see this, but I wonder if companies are just going to be like, hey, this is our brand spanking new game. Here's our, you know, hardcore, super ultra. We know we're not going to make it deadline to get people frothing at the mouth. But then when that, comes about 3 months prior to, they just extend it anyway.
I this is something that I've always thought, and this is something that a lot of people in the games media also believes. Why do companies still do release dates so far out? They because all they're doing is setting themselves up for delays.
For failure, yeah.
Like I don't think that games need to be like all of a sudden like Sony in whenever it is September of next year you hear nothing and then it's like God of War today, like that
Yeah,
shit's
I'm
never
already
gonna
fearing that thing. I mean,
right
like,
because I mean
they
that
had a title teaser and
title
they're like,
teaser,
it's next year.
yeah,
I'm like,
it's a
what else do they
it's
have in the
it's a
can?
title teaser and they happen to get Kratos to probably go into his home office to record two lines, yeah, that's weird, and yeah, and I wonder if it would just benefit some of these studios. Like, I mean, you saw it with Cyberpunk multiple times. Um, say, hey, we're working on this. We'll get back to you when it gets closer to release, and we'll kind of give you something more definitive. And then when it's like 2 or 3 months out, be like, okay, it's getting close. And then once it goes gold, be like, all right, we're ready. Instead of this, they show a teaser of full motion video and then they're like it's coming out this specific date and then when it doesn't everybody's like oh yeah well of course not, why would it come out that same day?
Yeah.
Charlie, we alluded to this a little bit during what we played. Give us an update on the transition from Modern Warfare to Cold War.
Well, Warzone has been reaping major success from the Haunting of Verdansk event. And it seems like it's going to be very, very seamless when it goes into the merging of Black Ops Cold War in December. And a lot of people are excited about that the two are going to kind of becoming one. There was rumors about that, whether that was going to happen, where the players from Warzone going to be jumping ship and transferring over to the other one and vice versa. It looks like they're going to be merging together and everyone's going to be playing nice with each other,
Yeah.
which is good to see that companies do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same company, but yeah, but I see what you're saying. Like, they could have very
Well,
easily,
I mean, competing titles, I
sure,
mean,
like they could have very easily,
they're complementary
they could have
instead.
very easily did what they did 2 years ago with Blackout, which was the battle royale for the last Black Ops. They closed it
Yeah.
and brought out Warzone. They could have easily done the same thing here, but Warzone is immensely popular. It's way more
Yeah.
popular than Blackout ever was. Um,
Well, and I also think they realized their mistake the first time,
a hundred
that it
percent.
was a great disservice to their fans that, poured hours upon hours of gameplay and probably real life bucks in regards
Yeah,
to things in the game. So the fact that they're, extending this olive branch down and embracing it rather than, curbing the trend like they had last time. It's good to see.
Yeah, and the Warzone is, yeah, very much an extension of Call of Duty, just kind of like you said. And yeah, I felt like Blackout was not that. Yeah, you go back, you talk about competing with itself.
Yeah.
It's one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, just iterate on it. And they're doing that. And I think it's great. Warzone is fantastic. Like, I never thought I would care about Call of Duty ever again. And I do. It's a fantastic. Speaking of Battle Royale, Apex Legends. Some might say that it's the best Battle Royale game out these days. Season 7 dropped today, and maybe I just missed this. I didn't know this. Brand new map. It's a floating island map. There's a new character. I did not get the name of the character because I am a bad broadcaster. But yeah, season 7 of that game is out today, and Apex Legends I think is the best made BR. It's the most polished, and I don't know if it's the one that it's definitely not the one I play the most, but it's one that I always think about, and I really like getting into it. It's very good, and it works. Obviously, it works kind of off of what Titanfall did. It's basically Titanfall without the Titans, which, of course, that's not Titanfall. But it's fantastic. Last thing in the news, Charlie, let's talk about that mini direct that happened. That would be last Wednesday. It happened the day after the last podcast. Not a lot in there that is really worth talking about, except for one thing.
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, more Monster Hunter. Man, Nintendo loves their Monster. God, they love it. Nintendo is getting into cloud streaming, which is weird as hell. Basically Stadia. They're doing Stadia on the Nintendo Switch. They dropped Control, which was the game. It was a PlayStation exclusive for a while and PC. They very highly acclaimed. They put that on the Switch yesterday, or that day, and it was cloud streaming. And I did not download it. They do have like a 10-minute demo, so you could test it out. But I did read some people and saw some video, and people were saying this actually played well. Like, it worked. Very little latency. It looked really good. Because basically the way that it's working is that the game is running on an extremely high-powered PC back in server land.
The cloud.
Then the server land somewhere in the sky. It probably has a name. I don't know what the name would be. Thunderstorm. But it's running at like
cumulonimbus.
It's very nice. Very nice. It's running at like super high settings on that PC with ray tracing and all this stuff. So it's coming over with all of that, and it's basically being streamed to your console. So it looks really good. And yeah, people are saying this thing works. So what it really leads to is that now what that means is games that are of high fidelity and graphics can now come to the Switch. Because that's the big thing, is that, third parties can't put Call of Duty on it because it wouldn't run. No. And people have talked about that.
You could not download that thing on the Switch.
Exactly. Well, they put out Doom 2016 on there, and they had to downgrade the shit out of it to make it work, which people say it runs and plays well. It just looks like crap. So after they announced Control, they announced that Hitman 3 is coming to the Switch via the cloud streaming when it releases. And I find that to be super interesting and super cool. If that stuff works really well, that's gonna be pretty badass. So we'll see. It's interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic because, boy, this sounds like remember when the Wii U came out and everyone, all the third party people were wanting to jump on board that thing because, like, oh man, this thing can do things. This the hardware that the Wii U is sporting can do things that no other console can do, and you kind of saw where that went. And so, like, with Hitman 3, that's quite a leap for Nintendo. Um, Especially speaking of the fact that, like, it's like all their games seem very bubbly, very
Sure.
family friendly, save like Bayonetta 2.
Sure.
And oh god, it's so weird to say Doom and Nintendo
It's
in the
weird.
same
Yeah.
sentence. But
I feel like
Nintendo does this. They go out. They're the most, like you said, they're the Apple of the gaming universe. They are the most experimenting
sure.
of the three of the triumvirate.
Mhm.
And sometimes they hit really really big. Sometimes it's a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
But the fact that they keep doing it and keep
Right.
experimenting, and they realize also that, like, their streaming service, if you want to call it anything like that, is it's winning the bronze right now compared to PlayStation Now and Xbox Game Pass
100%.
by a lot.
Yeah.
And by doing this, that enters them into a more competitive stance against those items. It gives those the Switch owners even this thought in the back of their head that's saying, you know what, I still want to get Hitman 3, but maybe I'm not going to get it for the for my PC or for the PlayStation or the Xbox. Maybe I'll get it for my Switch because
Play it on the go. Blah blah.
now
Blah.
I could play on the bus on the way to work or whatever. Or
But
on the
that means
subway.
you have to use the Joy Cons.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah. Well, I think Nintendo's problem that they've always had with third parties is that they've made systems that are completely out of the ordinary, and so people were those developers very early would do stuff for them, but then they would, because Call of Duty came out on the Wii.
Yeah.
And they tried it with, aiming with the Wiimote, and it didn't work, and they never made a Call of Duty. Kind of
There was a Dead Space on the Wii.
Oh man, I bet that
It was on rails.
I bet it was shitty too.
It wasn't very good.
But the Switch is the first console they've made since before the Wii that is as close to a normal system as your Xboxes and PlayStations. The biggest problem that they've had is that it's way underpowered, so these games can't work on there in terms of graphical fidelity and the size of them. And so now there's a solution, it appears, for games that are brand new, have really, really high graphical fidelity, and are super large, but they can be put on the system. And if it works, if the technology, the network technology works, that is huge for them. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Again, the early reports of Control sound really, really good. Like, that people are saying it works. Like, it works how it's supposed to, and it looks pretty good.
Cool.
That's neat. It'll be something definitely to keep an eye on. Charlie, as we've said with the title of this episode, The Calm Before the Storm, the new releases this week are bad and limited. What'd you put down here?
Oh, I mean, like I had mentioned to you before, with everything coming next week, I was like, let's slow roll this a little bit. And so for the most part, I found just 2 items. One was Dirt 5 for the PS4. It comes out on November 6th, on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Early reviews, I heard it's really, really buggy, really, really janky. If you can avoid those, it's a really, really good time.
Is it that's going to be PS5 as well, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, but the one for this weekend happens to be the PS4, just because the PS5 is not coming out yet.
Not bad, yeah.
And then a re-release on a new console, Tropico 6. Now it's coming out on the Switch on Friday. Originally on the PC, and it's Tropico. If you've ever played Tropico, if you want to play a communist dictator and run your own land, it's a really good game.
They've put that on consoles, on the other consoles. On Xbox, they had it as one of the gold games way back. It's not good on a console. On the Switch, though, I could see this being fine if it has touch support.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then that may end up being the worst version of that game, because I can't imagine that without touch support that'll be any good.
RTSs, it takes a special game to be really, really good on a console.
Well, I mean, it's got to be made the right way, because Civ,
exactly.
Civ is fine on consoles. Like, Civ works on consoles. Yeah, like Civilization works fine on it because of the way that it works. Because it's
very turn-based.
It's very turn-based. It's based on pods, so it's much easier to control. There's another indie one called For the King that's really good. It was on Gamecast.
Oh yeah.
It's a neat little game. It's kind of a strategy, and then when you get into battles, it's kind of a turn-based RPG. It's really interesting. Okay. And it's a roguelike too. So if you die, you start over from the beginning. So it's actually that actually reminds me, I need to get back into that game. That game is neat. But your standard strategy game, no, it doesn't work too much. That's really weird that they put that thing out on there. And so that's going to do it for the news. And it's time to get into the topic of the show. And to get into the topic of the show, Charlie, I've got a little bit of you won't be able to hear this, unfortunately. But I'm going to play something to get us in to the topic of the show. And we're going back to the late 80s for a little TV show. And we're going to be talking about it.
Hey, paisanos! It's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show! With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game. We're not like the others who get all the fame. If your sink is in trouble, you can call us on the double. We're faster than the others, you'll be hooked on the brothers.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So
what'd you play?
The intro.
The rap?
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to the end. Yeah. Well, I mean the intro rap. Hey paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So we're going to be talking about the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, which is on the Netflix. I actually own the entire series on DVD. Back in my day, we watched shows on DVDs.
Wait, are they blue?
Huh?
Nothing. Never mind. Keep going.
And so we Charlie's been watching some of the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. I have watched it enough to know that to obviously remember. And so what I thought I would do is, before we get into the actual episodes, I thought we'd give a little bit of background here on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. And so the Super Mario Brothers Super Show was a series that came out. It was the first episode came out on December 1st, 1989. It starred WWE wrestler Captain Lou Albano as Mario and Danny Wells as Luigi. Danny Wells was actually an actor who was in many shows before the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. It was actually in The Jeffersons, if you remember that series. He played the bartender Charlie in The Jeffersons. So yeah, he unfortunately, both Danny Wells and Captain Lou Albano are have now passed on to that next plane, R.I.P. And it ran for 52 episodes of the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. And it would always have live action with Captain Lou and Danny Wells, sometimes with a guest. Then it would have your episode of the animated, and then, between commercials would have some more of the live action. It's a truly wonderful series. And I say that without the slightest bit of irony. I love this show for how silly it is, for how breaking of the fourth wall that show is, the terrible puns. Like I feel like that Josh probably could have played Toad in this show.
Oh my
your
gosh.
brother with the puns.
Yeah.
It's
puns.
it's fantastic. Now, Charlie, one moment that we always talk about, of course, in that show is from the first episode, in which where Mario and Luigi live, there is garbage everywhere. It's nasty. And Luigi talks about how they need to clean stuff up. And in fact, at one point he goes up to Mario and starts to grab for something, which was a piece of spaghetti. And it sounds like he says, "Hey, Mario, you have a piece of spaghetti on your shirt." And then Mario says, "Hey, fuck you, Luigi." Which obviously is not what he actually says, but I have watched that scene a million times. That motherfucker says, "Fuck you, Luigi."
Did you do the closed caption to see what he actually said?
He says thank you. Says thank you. What is your history with this show, Charlie? Did you watch it back in the day?
So yeah, I mean, I watched this live back in the day when it was on. I thought it was so cool to see something that I played regularly on afternoons now as a cartoon, and they had given voice to the characters that I played as and saved and defeated over and over again at each castle. There's a lot. I have got so many thoughts regarding this show, returning back to it.
Sure. So what's
I'm trying to figure out how to enter this.
So this is what I want to do with this. As someone who has watched this show many times through, I know a lot of this show, and I know you do too, but I am interested in some of your major thoughts, and then interspersed with those thoughts that you have, I thought I would kind of input some little trivia things about the show. So let's just start off, Charlie, with, to you, what's your number one thing that stands out about this show, especially going through it recently?
Are we talking number one in priority, or are you talking about in chronological order? Because the first thing that hits me is the rap.
Oh, 100%. And unironically, I love the music in this show.
Oh, no.
Without irony.
Is definitely a pro. Let me read you the rap.
Please.
There's one thing about this show that like I love, but at the same time I could not understand why.
Mm-hmm.
There's two intros.
There's two intro raps, 100%.
To this show,
mm-hmm.
which I never like. It didn't hit me until I was watching these. I was like, well, why do they have a second one?
They do. Yeah, they have the true intros, the "Hey Paisanos," and then they do that. Yeah. Then after they do their live action segment, and then it switches over to cartoons, they have the transition rap for no reason.
My thought is, I was like, are they literally like, is this fluff? Is this filler? Because
100%.
they just don't have enough enough to
Oh,
fill
yeah.
the 22-minute allotted time slot.
100%.
And so yeah, the first rap. We're the Mario Brothers
Mhm.
and plumbing's our game. We're
Uh-huh.
not like the others who get all the fame. If your sink is in trouble, you can call us on the double. We're faster than the others. You'll be hooked on the brothers.
Oh!
And then it goes into that and it says,
Mhm.
"Yo, you're in for a treat, so hang on to your seat. Get ready for adventure and remarkable feats. You'll meet Koopa, the Troopas, the princess and the others. Hanging with the plumbers, you'll be hooked on the brothers
to the brink." Yes.
When he says "to the bridge," I
Yeah.
was watching this during my lunch and I almost forgot that I was at work and I laughed out loud.
Now let me ask you this. So we're here in the intro. So the part where they say, so do they say to the bridge or to the brink?
To the bridge.
To the bridge. Okay. It always sounded like brink.
Bridge of the song.
Well, you know what? Either way was so he says to the bridge, and then it does the part where it shows all the pipes and it shows real life Mario and Luigi running. Even
background.
Even at 7 years old, I thought that was so cheap looking.
I mean, I may have thought the same thing, but at the same time,
I didn't care.
Sitting there slack-jawed.
You know what? I was sitting there and I'm about to watch my favorite game as a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, and then it gets into the live action stuff, and so obviously this show came out before the movie did.
Oh God, yeah.
And so to me, Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells, that's my real life Mario and Luigi, not Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. And man, I loved the live action stuff so much. And
they had this Mario Brothers plumbing on like the Lower East Side near the Brooklyn Bridge,
and there was always a problem. We'll get into the guest we'll get into the guest here in a little bit, but there was always somebody that had an issue.
Oh yeah.
And
I think that's how they made their money.
I guess so.
Because it seems like they were always broke.
Also, why was their telephone engulfed in a pizza?
I don't know.
It's so stupid. And another one of my favorite dumb things, especially as an adult, is when, of course, in the Netflix version, they don't have the commercials, but they still do the outro and intros going out and coming back in.
Yeah.
Where it'll do the thing where it'll show like a screenshot of whatever is just happened, and then Mario or Luigi will say a terrible pun, and then it would do one of the sound effects from Super Mario.
Yep.
And speaking of sound effects, I'm sure you've noticed this. They use a ton of Mario 2. It's almost exclusive Mario 2.
And it's I love the sound effects and the score of Mario and Mario 2. It's really, really good. They use it almost too much.
Yeah.
And it's almost piped up a little too much.
A little bit, yeah. And it's way too much Mario 2. But it is
cool to see that, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of Mario 2 incorporated, which apparently, is not canon or whatever. Or is it canon? I forget nowadays anymore. But there's a lot of sound effects. The laugh track, though.
Oh, on the live action, it's
goddamn sense.
Did you notice that they laugh
all the time?
All the time. The time.
One of the episodes, Danica McKellen, I'm going to go on the cameos in a second.
No, yeah.
But Danica McKellen, she comes in, she's a little girl, and she's like,
make sure you tell people who that is. Some people may not know.
She's Winnie from Wonder Years. She's extremely gorgeous and extremely smart.
Mathematics.
But she was my childhood crush.
Oh yeah, I think that was everybody's.
She goes onto the show. She knocks on the door, which again accompanied with knocking sound effects from the game, and nice. And so she's like, "What's wrong, little girl?" And you hear laughing. She's like, "I'm an orphan." And there's more laughing. I'm like, "What's so funny about an orphan?" And like obviously like she's like downtrodden, she's down in her luck. Apparently it's her birthday, and like, long story, longer, she's not really an orphan or anything like that, but there's just like a whole bunch of stuff. They're like, why there's no reason to laugh here. It's like someone kind of sat on the laughing button.
Sure.
And would fall asleep on it and forget that it was on.
Like I totally understand why they did the laugh track, because that's what every goddamn live action sitcom did, was a laugh track. But it was one of those things where it was like they spammed it too much, because really if you in watching it, we still love it because it's so bad. None of it's actually funny at all. Like, it's not, the puns are really bad, and they're not really cracking jokes. Like, the scenarios that they come up with are not funny, but man, they use that laugh track. And I think it's just another one of those little dumb things that just kind of adds to the charm of it. The actual cartoons themselves, it seemed like it was one of those things where it was always, obviously, I mean, it's just like the video games. It's the same thing, Bowser's trying to stop Mario, steal the princess and everything like that. But they would do these different settings and scenarios. They would do like a Sahara Desert style.
Yes.
And I loved the parody that they would do with some of these episodes. Like the names they would give Koopa. And
oh gosh,
God, so good. And
there was the one where it would basically took place in like Greek times or whatever. Yeah. And it was August, September, October. Koopa. Yeah. Was the emperor.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so silly. And like, I thought that stuff was really clever. Let's get into the cameos, because I think the cameos are super interesting.
I put two types of cameos. To speak to what you were saying in regards to the actual cartoon, there was the setting cameos. You had the genie in the lamp in one of them. You had Mark Twain in another one. Mm-hmm. You had, obviously, like you said, parodies. There was the magic beans, and then King Koopa was the giant.
Yeah.
Which then you had this golden goose, which instead of laying eggs, there was a spell put, so he was laying coins. Those are the cameos that I came across in the cartoons.
Yeah. So I'm more speaking of
I was going to say
the live
real
action.
life ones.
You got the list? Because I've got a list here, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, so good.
Like you were saying. Well, these are the ones that I came across. Like, I blitzkrieg watched 9 episodes of these.
What you got?
Like you were saying, every time the episode starts, they have this, situation that they have to help out somebody. Mm-hmm. They had Dr. Frankenstein and the Creature.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You had the first episode was with Nicole Eggert, which was the girl from Charles in Charge.
Yes.
A sitcom in the 80s.
That's right.
You had, obviously, Danica McKellar, the orphan.
Yep.
You had Lyle Elzado, a football player.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The Raiders, rest in peace.
Yep.
You had Sergeant Slaughter.
He did, 100%.
Who came in and he had to get a steam machine.
Yeah. Was that the one where at the end he got in the steam machine and it worked too well and he came out and he was super skinny?
He was a midget.
Oh my God, that stupid show!
You had, like I said, Dr. Frankenstein, the Creature. You had Dracula.
Yes.
You had Elvis. That was where I was like,
That's
stopped. I was like,
right.
I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
Because they were having an Elvis. There was a plumber's ball, and they were having an Elvis costume contest.
Right.
And like, of course, Elvis showed up to teach them how to be Elvis. Mm-hmm. And so, oh my gosh, you had that. You had Elvira. I mean,
yeah, you had the Elvira episode.
Is on your list, but
so some that yes, I'll get quickly to the ones that you missed. this one is for Josh and our good friend Ryan. Rowdy Roddy Piper was in an episode. The great Ernie Hudson was in an episode. Cyndi Lauper, who at the time was married to Captain Lou Albano. Patrick Dempsey, which you know him from.
He was Super Plant.
He was the Piranha Plant, the Super Piranha Plant, which is incredible.
Never saw his face. He was there though.
It's they
had Captain Lou Albano.
Yeah, I was about to say that Captain Lou Albano was in an episode. It was called the episode was called Captain Lou is Missing. And so they didn't do any camera tricks with this. What they did is in the episode they had Mario just leave. And then he leaves, and then all of a sudden, so it's just Danny Wells in the house. Then once Mario leaves, then there's a knock on the door, and Danny Wells, Luigi, thinks it's Mario again. So he goes up and he opens the door, and it's Captain Lou with the full beard, with the ties and everything. It's wrestling Captain Lou. And Charlie, you and I were talking about it. We speculated that they had to film that scene first because in the rest of them he's clean shaven with just the mustache.
Oh yeah,
and he doesn't have the long hair because he also would do the long hair with all the ties. Mm-hmm. It's really incredible that show, which back then Mario was big in the United States, but it wasn't big like it is now. To get those people, Ernie Hudson, like
Norman Fell,
right, in
Mr. Roper,
they had a fucking Ghostbuster. It's really incredible the people that they got. And so the way those episodes would work is Monday through Thursday when they would play the Super Mario Brothers Super Show with Mario, the Super Mario episodes. And then on Fridays, they would play The Legend of Zelda. We could do a whole entire topic just on the one season of The Legend of Zelda. Charlie, you've never seen it, have you?
What?
The Legend of Zelda?
Yeah, I have.
Who were we talking to that then?
Not me. I did want to say something on that Legend of Zelda thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they keep in the segment where Mario and Luigi are either doing something with their guest host or whatever, and all of a sudden they segue into the, hey, check out this clip. Friday on the
check out this clip.
Legend of Zelda preview. My thing was, where is the actual series at? Because I want to watch that thing.
It's so bad.
I don't care.
Oh my God, it's so bad. No, I'm saying we should watch it. And we should do an episode by episode review. But man, I'll tell you what, back then when they would
me, princess.
Oh my God.
And Ganon just sounds like, oh my God, I don't know.
It's the
how
worst.
the voice actor survives after doing a whole segment with Ganon.
It's so terrible. But I'll tell you this, back then, whenever they would get to the end of the episode, they'd be like, check out these new scenes from The Legend of Zelda coming this Friday. Be like, hell yes, let's go Zelda! And then, it's a garbage show. But yeah. So the Super Mario Brothers cartoons continued after the Super Show. They did do Super Mario, based on Super Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario World.
They had Yoshi.
They had Yoshi, which the premise of Super Mario World is kind of bad because it basically was that all the characters went back in time to the Stone Age and met Yoshi. It was really weird. They had Mario cartoons for a good 6-7 years. Like They went I mean, the Super Mario Super Show stuff kind of ended after a couple seasons. I'm sure Captain Lou was like, why am I still doing this? But yeah, that's all I've got. Is there anything specific that you wanna get to that we may have missed?
I do have a couple of things.
Yeah, go for it. Let's go.
That I noticed.
Let's do it.
So, the voice of Bowser, or let's just do Bowser in general. He always had these alliteration insults. The pesky, the pesky pipe pushers.
Yeah.
The pesky plumbers.
Mm-hmm.
Sewer scum. Basin brains. I literally could not type fast enough to get these things. He called them wrench monkeys once upon a time. There were so many. Okay, I know it's his name. Their names are Mario and Luigi Mario. I get that. There's so many Italian references.
It's unbelievable.
Especially Italian food references.
Leaping lasagnas.
Pepperoni cheesecake. Fettuccine sundaes.
Yeah, God bless it.
Hot pepper pistachio ice cream, which actually that sounds pretty good. There was a linguine empire. They had a spaghetti off or whatever, and obviously they were going to work for spaghetti. Like you said, those euphemisms, holy ravioli and great garbanzo.
Great garbanzo.
And then there was this one moment where, so King Koopa is, he's obviously the protagonist. I'm trying to get his, who he's voiced by. But the character actor, the voice actor, for King Koopa also does the voice acting for Triclyde. And there is literally a scene where they are talking to each other.
Oh my God, what a beating.
Back and forth. And it's just a very, he goes a pitch higher to be Triclyde.
Oh my God.
But you can so tell it's the same guy.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay. And I mean, I get it. It was the third episode, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're still getting their legs underneath them. They really haven't, brought in anyone.
I always thought Toad was the same guy too, because it sounded like Toad at times would just sound like a higher pitched Koopa.
Yeah.
That's the puns, man.
There was again also with the accents. Mauser was German.
Yeah,
very German.
Like
too. I'm
very,
not talking
like ultra fake German. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a witch who she sounded like she was from the Bronx. I was like, really?
Well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about though with the influence of Super Mario 2, where they used a lot of the music / sound effects from 2. Most of the characters are from 2.
Yeah.
Mouser,
right.
the snakes, oh God,
you had Albatos.
Yes.
You had
Birdos. You had a whole episode. You had a whole episode based on Birdo.
Birdo and the baby.
Yeah, and the baby.
And a lot of the animations, they were constantly pulling radishes up out of the ground to throw them. The bombs were everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very, very.
Banto was in there.
Yeah, it was very, very.
Shy Guys were in there. So
very influenced by the Super Mario 2. I'd say even way more than just Super Mario Brothers. God, those puns though. Oh boy, it's a Josh Henderson dream.
So, and along with the puns, you also have the. So, if you don't know what a Chekhov's gun is, it's basically like when all hope is lost, all of a sudden a writer writes in this magical magical weapon
that's
that gets the main character out of
every episode.
Exactly. Every episode there was always a fire flower that they came across at the last second. There was
Mm.
always a secret escape door that
Yeah.
they came across at the last second. There was two though that I literally like had my hand in my face in my hands because I was like I couldn't believe it. One, apparently Luigi speaks pigeon,
Yeah.
and all he's saying is pigeon, 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 pigeon. And I'm like, what? They literally
Unbelievable.
were in a spot where like there was no way out. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wait a minute, Mario. I speak a pigeon. Pigeon, 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 pigeon."
He just happens to remember at that moment that he speaks pigeon. The dumbest fucking show, and
Like,
I
I
love
know
it so much.
Bert from Sesame Street was all about speaking pigeon, but
No. Bert just had a pet pigeon. That's it. He didn't speak pigeon. He had a pet. He had a pet pigeon named Bernice.
Yes, that's right. And so,
Kids, y'all.
That's right. I can't believe you remember that.
Hey man, you got kids?
But yeah, the other one I'm speaking of though is so they're put in this arena and they have to fight Triclyde. And it's three heads, it's a three-headed snake, and they have to go against these two brothers. And there's no way out. They are completely surrounded. Bowser has made a deal with them that if they can beat Triclyde, they are set free. So, they're pretty screwed. All of a sudden it's like, hey, Luigi, this is Mario's idea.
God,
Hey, Luigi, come here, let's try something. They start dancing.
They start dancing.
And apparently their dance confuses the crap out of Triclyde.
To where they get tied up in a knot, right?
Yeah, he ties his neck up.
You know what? You know what? Maybe fuck this show. Maybe.
No. I'm poking fun at little things like that.
No,
don't get me wrong,
it's silly as hell.
Really enjoyed this show.
No, it's silly as hell and it's great.
Silly stuff. Yeah. But the last thing, and like this like I kept watching this and I'm looking at it and I'm trying to like see if little me really ever got up and did the Mario dance.
Motherfucker, I did it every goddamn episode. All right, I'm gonna try to do something here. Unfortunately, Charlie, you won't be able to hear it. Okay. I'm gonna make an attempt. I don't know if we should, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna put the video on the screen.
Okay.
Give me just a moment. Talk amongst yourselves.
The Mario dance.
Do the Mario. Do the Mario. Okay, here it is. there's a I put in Do the Mario. There is a selection on YouTube of 10 hours of Do the Mario. All right, so put this back here. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to make it big. Make it big, dude. Okay. Hold on.
Before you play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did like when the Mario Brothers and their guest host, they would quote unquote be doing the Mario like basically right before the credits started rolling. And you could kind of tell that host was like, I'm just kind of dancing here and hopping and
yeah, that was wonderful. Technical difficulties. We're not gonna play the song because that screws everything up. I mean, I guess that works out. We were at the end of at the end of this. You got anything else on the Mario Brothers Super Show, Charlie?
I mean, it's definitely something that it's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, watch it, check it out. It's something I think your kids would like. I know little me would like.
I've shown my kids that they love it.
Like, it's nothing to take too seriously. It's 1980s cartoonage.
Oh yeah,
and
it's campy as hell.
It's very campy as hell. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a wonderful artifact from our childhood, It's one of my favorite things from my childhood. I love that show. And yes, I danced the Mario, do the Mario every goddamn time. I once made a movie. I've made multiple movies based on Mario called Super Machario, where I play the lead character Machario. At the end of the first movie that I did in high school, I did an entire live version of Do the Mario. And I am sorry to say for this podcast, I don't have that video anymore.
Hey, you know what? And if you do watch it, you might get hooked on the brothers.
That's right.
They're just saying.
You know, they are faster than the others. So you'll be hooked on the brothers. To the bridge. All right. So that's going to do it with the topic of the week. That was hilarious and fun. Charlie, I'm so glad that you brought that up and brought that to the table. It was excellent. We'll see next week. I think what we'll do, Charlie, is next week, since we're going to be doing our podcast before we've had a chance to play our respective consoles. I thought what we would do here in 2 weeks is the topic of the show in 2 weeks would be us talking about our experiences with our two consoles. Obviously, we'll talk about the games we played, but I figured we would do kind of an extended topic for the actual consoles. Next week, we'll figure something out. If anything, we'll just default to our normal let's remember some games, but we'll figure something out. So that's going to do for the topic of the show. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to that mailbag. And if you have any questions for the mailbag, you can send them any number of places. You can throw them in the chat. If anybody is still here after that catastrophe of earlier. You can hit us up in our Discord, the MC Game Squad. You can hit us up. You can actually, Charlie, one thing that we've never talked about that people can do is, if you're watching this VOD on YouTube, which you can search MC Gamescast on YouTube to find it, you can put questions for the following week in the comments section of this episode. Always hit that like and subscribe. It helps us out. So yeah, but you can put it there. You can hit us up on Twitter. Many, many, many different places to find us. Let's get to the first question. We've got a few here from our good friend Smithy. Mailbag, is there any game franchise that you'd like to see reborn?
It's so hard for me to say because the game franchise that I would like to see reborn have been reborn.
Sure.
God of War and Doom and
let's extend it slightly to make it a little easier. Let's also just add in like franchises that are still kind of existing but maybe just need to be full on rebooted as well.
Mass Effect.
That was gonna be my answer, is Mass Effect. Because to me, Mass Effect is dead.
Yeah.
So that is a true reborn answer. I would love to see them completely reboot and start over Fallout.
Speaking to what I had been playing this week, I would love to see them go to town on a 3-dimensional Metroid. Because the ones on the GameCube were really, really good.
They're you may not know this, Charlie. They're developing Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, there you go.
It's coming. Now, they announced that very much in the same way they announced God of War, where it was just like, hey, by the way, Metroid Prime's coming. Here's the logo. Gotta go. That was 4 years ago, and they haven't seen it since. So who knows if that's actually still coming. But that, they Metroid Prime is an awesome game. Like, I never played past the first one, but that first one is really fucking good. What's that?
Think of any more? Or?
So going with Metroid, I would love for them to make just a straight 2D one. Like an actual full-on...
Oh, yeah.
Do the Shadow Complex treatment, modern day, let's fucking go, here it is.
Speaking of that...
They should fucking make Shadow Complex 2!
We love Shadow Complex.
Oh my god, it's so good. We got another one here from Smithy. What's the funniest game you've ever played?
Oh, like... does it have to be from the game, or can it be
the laughs you get from it because you're playing?
I'm of two minds to it.
Because to me, I think what you're talking about is the amount of laughs and fun you get out of it playing it, because Left 4 Dead would absolutely be probably at the top of that list.
Okay.
But I think he's talking about specifically games that are meant to be funny, make you laugh.
Okay. So fumbling a ball 60 yards backwards,
yes,
that does not count.
Yes. But that also is a good one.
Still is one of the funniest things ever.
It's amazing.
Not to mention
Troy Hambrick.
The entire run horizontal across the goal line, and then all of a sudden get hit out of nowhere, fumble the ball in the end zone.
Or fumble it 60 yards backwards.
Gosh. Saints Row the Third.
Mm-hmm.
My game of the year. 2011.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is just all the funnies.
Sure.
You are on a chariot playing chicken with another chariot with a guy who is in a codpiece basically driving your train, and for no just damn apparent reason, these things are combustible and catch on fire. The dildo bat is hilarious.
It's a crowd pleaser.
The commentary is funny in that game. Oh my god, there's so, like, the ridiculousness of literally like jumping into the car feet first every time you want to hijack a car, launching the driver straight out the other side. That game, like that's definitely one of them.
Sure. Like I think humor in video games is very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are very few games that I would classify as funny. Like, I think Borderlands can be funny.
Oh, yeah.
I also think it can be very unfunny.
Oh,
you know, I would probably say the game that I got the most, like, actual laugh out loud moments is probably Grand Theft Auto 5.
Okay.
Mostly the Trevor character.
Oh, God. Yeah, Trevor.
And, you know, there's the scene, this is later after Trevor comes down to Los Santos, where he goes down with that weird kind of inbred guy, his friend, and he's got a cousin that lives down on the beach. And you go and Trevor lives at the house for a little bit and just takes over the house. There's that scene where for whatever reason Trevor decides to pull his pants down and show him his ween. And when he goes to pull him up, they show him bend over, but it's off camera. But as he lifts up, you can see his balls from the back.
Yep.
And it happens, and you're like, did I? Was that his balls? And then you go back and you watch it a second time, and it's like, that was his balls. Trevor is a great character. He's a fantastic the dude's friend.
Michael?
No, the other guy. Lamar. Lamar is a fantastic character.
Yeah.
Just so funny. Because he just doesn't care, and I love it.
Everyone in, like, you know, I remember GTA Online, I, you know, dove into that for a second or two, and I was like, oh, we get to play with Lamar.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously that didn't fall through, but...
Yeah.
He is
the tutorial. Lamar...
If they made a DLC with just Lamar, I would have been, like, in heaven.
You remember when we spent, like, 3 years wondering when they were going to make a DLC, and then they never did?
Well, it's because the fourth game had 3 DLCs that came along.
Right, and they were all really good DLCs.
I think at the time, it's like, you know, it's one of those timing things where DLCs were so prevalent, but with a game like GTA 5, this online thing,
they just made so much money with that.
Yeah, and they're just
they still are. They make
don't need
so
to do
much
anything.
money. They make a ton of money off of that stuff. But I would have loved a Lamar centric. Like, he's the best character in that game, I think. Like, Trevor's great, and I like Trevor a lot. But man, Lamar, he's so good. Let's move on. This one's more for me than anything. Smithy asked, will there be a Rocket League 2? If they make a Rocket League 2, that game is still 5 to 10 years away. They are making so much money off Rocket League. It has such a place in esports that there's no reason for them to make a new Rocket League. They're making just money hand over fist, and now that it's free to play, people are spending money like crazy. Like we talk about Grand Theft Auto making money. Rocket League has never been more popular, and they've probably not made anywhere near as much money as they are now. So why would they?
Would you rather they make a new version, like a sequel, or just continue to pump up this one?
I don't think they need to make a new one.
Okay.
Because this game, I'm not saying it's a perfect game. But for what for what it's supposed to be, the way that it controls and what it does, it's what it's trying to do is perfection. You can't make that better.
Yeah.
I think you can only add to it to make it worse. Like you're gonna add these modes that don't make sense, or you're gonna make changes to the controls that don't make sense, and I just don't think that's smart. Sure. And yeah, maybe at some point the sales and all of the Rocket Pass stuff that they do stops making as much money, and they feel like they're gonna have to make something new. But right now, there's no reason, and it's gonna continue this revitalization on the new consoles. You know, they're just moving that stuff straight over, and people are going to continue to play it on there too. So I just don't think there's any reason to. And I would just say, don't do it. Don't mess with something that's really good. We got a question from our good pal Sturm. He asked, could any characters from Super Mario World defeat Master Chief in a fight? I mean,
I thought about this, and I think I have one.
I mean, I'm trying to think of all the characters in that game. What do you got?
The Boo Buddies.
You think so?
Because they're relentless. You can't kill them.
Yeah.
And eventually Master Chief is just going to run out of
bullets
and ammo and time and life. And, you know, it's one of those, like, you know, if the fight was like in a limited capacity, I would say no.
Sure.
But if you're talking like just an all out, you know, like BR, where it's just, you know, whoever outlasts the other, obviously Boo would outlast Master Chief. It took me a while because I was thinking of every character.
So I've got one. I'm thinking this from the brute force style side of it. The football guy. He's running at you.
Oh, the Charger?
Yeah, the Charger. He's running at you. You're not ready for him. Maybe the Rhinos. I guess the Resnors.
Oh, Reznor.
Yeah, Reznor. Because there's going to be multiple of them.
Yeah.
You know, maybe his ability to jump around is not good enough to be able to withstand the Resnors, especially with the bridge starting to go out, going into the lava.
Oh, Blarg.
Yeah.
The lava monster.
The lava monster. Yeah. Because, I mean, Yoshi would get fucking annihilated. Immediately. Or Mario would be riding him and jump over a hole to get away and then drop him into a pit.
Yeah. Mario or Luigi with a star. That would definitely take out.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Or, I mean, you give him a cape and he's sitting there, he's flying around and he does the dive bomb, stuns him. You know what? Fuck Master Chief. He's getting his ass kicked.
All he needs is Needler, though, and just like, well, dive bomb all you want. You're about to blow up.
True. This is very true. That's a dumb question, Sturm, and I love every second of it.
That's great.
All right, we got one final
questions like that.
Yeah, one final question in a very video game centric mailbag, and that's fine. We get a note here from our good pal Nico. Do you prefer linear story driven games or full open world games? Charlie?
It depends on what day of the week you ask me this question.
Okay.
Oh man.
See, I think the problem I mean, I guess he's saying linear, so it's just a set path. I mean, for me it's easy. I've always loved open world. Like I love the ability to go kind of where I want, almost fill in the story how I want. I mean, like games have started to do a really good job of letting you kind of choose your own adventure, especially with the main story. Like Breath of the Wild, like you could play that game in any order, like legitimately. And Fallout, the Fallout series really got to that point too. Same thing with Skyrim, or I guess Elder Scrolls. Mass Effect kind of got there too, you know, kind of in 2 and 3, you had branching paths and could kind of go, you know, into places. I always prefer freedom over, you know, it's kind of why I don't like Mass Effect 1 that much, because it's all very set. You know, it's pretty set. There's not a lot of branching in that game. The first one.
It's more branching than you think.
I think there's less branching than you think. But it doesn't matter. Like 2 and 3 definitely get into that branching, especially with the ability to go to I mean, also that series is not your true open world, of course, but
which one?
Mass Effect, it's not super true. But you know, it as those games went along, it certainly opened up. But yeah, I will always prefer choice in the ability to kind of go where I want to linear. That's not to say I don't like linear stuff. I do.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to agree with you. Games like Fallout really lend itself to, like you said, creating your own story. You go where I go where I want to go. And there are some fruits that lie with games like Gears of War, where it guides you along. It is a very linear story.
Yeah, very
much.
The
branching paths always bring you back to the main line. But yeah, no, I agree with you regards, like, even, what was it, Grand Theft Auto 5?
Yeah.
Like, it's a linear story, but it's an open world game.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can pretty much you don't have to follow the story. I mean, obviously, if you want to advance in the game and unlock some stuff.
Yeah. Like, the main story is very linear. Like, 5 did a better job of kind of having the branching off main storyline stuff with the 3 characters. But up until that point, it was, if you want to do the story mode, or the story, this is the mission you do. And then you do the next one, and then, you can kind of branch off. I love choice. I love being able to kind of choose my own adventure.
So you would be Legend of Zelda versus Super Mario Brothers.
In terms of what I want to play, yeah. Well, and that's kind of the funny thing. Mario Odyssey is very, very open world and choice based.
Oh yeah.
Than they all used to be. But yeah, I mean, it's the reason why I like Breath of the Wild more than Mario Odyssey. I love Mario Odyssey. It's my second favorite game from that year. But what Breath of the Wild did, and that's the thing, is that Breath of the Wild took Zelda, which was pretty much all linear. I mean, it's very linear in, you got to go do this dungeon. You got to do this one.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of could choose here and there, but it was.
You'd have to fill me in. Like I
yeah,
don't know regarding Ocarina of Time.
Like
or
there's
Wind Waker.
It's much more linear than Breath of the Wild. I mean, Breath of the Wild is true. Choose your path.
Yeah.
You can do this in any order. You could go beat the game without doing the dungeons if you want to. And the speedruns for that game are incredible when it comes to that. But, you know, it's you got to play that game. It's so good. But that's going to do it.
On the list.
Put it on that list. That's going to do it for the mailbag. Thank you for the questions, everybody. We appreciate it. We're going to close the mailbox. We're not going to have any trouble having that mail delivered, unlike some ballots. Gotta go. And we're going to
gloss over that.
We're going to get into...
Wait, what ballots? What are you talking about? Nothing happened yesterday.
Well, speaking of the election, ladies and gentlemen, we're to our final segment of the day, which I did not get to record a new open, so we're gonna go with this one. And now it's time for Tuesday night scatter shooting on a Wednesday with your host Mickle Burnt, right here on the MC Gamescast. Thank you so much, announcer. I appreciate it very much. You said my name wrong, but that's okay. Scatter shooting, wondering...
Sounds familiar.
That's weird. Scatter shooting, wondering whatever happened to Leisure Suit Larry.
Oh my god.
First of all, Leisure Suit Larry, awful games. Terrible games.
Did you play any of them?
I played them back in the day because I was a dumb, immature teenager, but they're awful. They're awful games.
Yeah, they're bad.
Oh, they're bad. Well, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday was the election of the general election for President of the United States, and with the election this week, I thought we would take a look at some random video game notes related to elections and politics, beginning with the best-selling games in election year cycles since the year 2000. Back in 2000, the best-selling game of that year was Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64. In 2004, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was the best-selling game.
Makes sense.
In 2008, We Play was the greatest selling, which is just that's the not Wii Sports.
It's not even Wii Sports.
It's not Wii Sports. It was another version that came out that had more stuff on it.
Down here.
Yeah. And then in 2012 and 2016, that year's Call of Duty Black Ops 2 in 2012 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare were your best-selling games of those years. And I would imagine in pretty much in all of those years in between, it was probably Call of Duty. Call of Duty is generally the best-selling game of that year. So those are your games, best-selling games in election year. We're still in 2020, so we don't know what this year's best-selling game is. I bet I have an idea. It's probably going to be Animal Crossing, if I had to guess.
Not to interrupt you, wasn't Red Dead?
That was 2017.
Red Dead 2?
Red Dead 2 was 2017.
Okay, yeah. No, I was just thinking, like, I don't know why I just came across, I guess, that you said Call of Duty pretty much every year, and I was like, wait, I thought Red Dead might have...
Oh, it may have been that specific
it.
year, but I'm guessing that most years it's probably Call of Duty.
Sure, oh yeah, totally, yeah.
So next up, with Ronald Reagan playing a part in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, I thought it would be fun to look at appearances by presidents in video games. There are definitely very weird ones when it comes to it. Of course, you had the Clintons, Bush, and Cheney, and then Obama and Joe Biden have been in the NBA Jam series as unlockables. You had Bill Clinton and Hillary in the original NBA Jam that you can unlock, and then both Bush and Dick Cheney and Obama and Joe Biden were in later installments
That's
of
awesome.
NBA Jam. So ones that kind of do make sense because it kind of follows the same thing as Reagan. Both JFK and Richard Nixon appeared in the original Call of Duty Black Ops. You know,
yeah.
so that's not a surprise. Here's where it gets weird. Mercenaries 2, which is a bad game. It's a sequel to an incredible game, Mercenaries. Mercenaries 2, back in 2007, so this was just before he was elected, had paid DLC where you could purchase Barack Obama as a playable character in Mercenaries 2. And he had his own specific story missions. Yeah, I saw screenshots of this. It's him in a suit and tie, and he's kicking a terrorist, and it looks so dumb. Now, probably what I would say is the weirdest one is, you remember the Ready to Rumble boxing series?
Oh, yeah.
Back on the Dreamcast? Well, Ready to Rumble 2 had unlockable Bill Clinton as a playable boxer. And it is like chubby Bill Clinton.
Oh, no.
And it's hilarious. So presidents have definitely been in video games in the past, and not just your typical, hey, this is part of the story. So a couple of weeks ago, in an effort to boost the Democratic voting, New York House of Representatives Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took to Twitch and played Among Us with some special guests. Among the guests were Minnesota House Rep. Ilhan Omar, popular Twitch streamer Pokimane, and YouTuber Jacksepticeye. The stream was a huge success, with some 700,000 people tuning in, with a peak concurring viewership of 430,000 people at one time.
That's what I'm talking about.
AOC and Omar would go on to win their respective house races with ease yesterday. And finally, with everything going on in the country right now, it is important to remember that we are all in this together. No matter what our political alignment is, we are still all brothers and sisters in this country. We are all equal. So I cannot stress this enough. Please do not be a racist. Be like Mario. He's an Italian plumber created by Japanese people who speaks English and looks Hispanic. And that'll do it for Friday morning, Tuesday night scatter shooting on a Wednesday. But right here with Mitch, who fucks everything up, right here on the MC Gamescast.
Oh, the performance on the beam was great.
Oh
and then
my
the dismount
god, the dismount
was
it was really bad.
Was the Dak Prescott cramp.
Yeah, it was. The last 30 minutes of this podcast have not gone great. But that's okay. Unprecedented times. Charlie, that's going to do it. That is going to do it for our final podcast in the last generation. When we do our next podcast, we will officially be in the next generation of gaming. We may not be able to talk about it because I probably won't have time to play my Xbox before that podcast begins, and obviously you won't have your PS5 yet. But we will officially be in the next generation of gaming. Woo!
Oh yeah, man! I'm excited.
I cannot wait. I am pumped. I'm so pumped. It's great. We've gotten past all the kind of BS that everything else has kind of brought us lately. Hopefully we'll have good news soon. But
about the ending of a generation, it's just it usually very few times does it go out with a bang.
Yeah.
And this one's just kind of like, oh, can we? I mean, COVID didn't help.
Yeah.
But boy, we were like dragging to the finish line.
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is that this is the first generation in a long time that we're getting into the new one immediately. Because like usually we're sticking with the old generation, and so we're continuing with what we the old one. We're not doing that this time. We're saying, hey, old generation, go fuck yourself, because we're moving on. We're moving on.
Well, you've still got plenty of games to play.
No, we're saying go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, Xbox One and PlayStation Go 4.
Boy,
I'm gonna hit this music. Actually, I'll start here in just a second. Charlie,
no.
Tomorrow night you will be back.
Yep,
that's on a Thursday with some streams.
Yep.
Are you gonna be what are you gonna be doing? I don't know what you're even gonna do, because you keep switching it up. You got to get back into RE2 at some point, don't you?
I do. I'm liking my blood pressure being down and being able to go to sleep.
Yeah.
With it being closed.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very hard to do. I'm really enjoying Mario Kart 8 again. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I may do something early tomorrow before you get going, kind of lead into you.
Charlie in the dark.
Yeah, and what I mean by that is I'm probably going to play Rocket League. No way. But then I'll be back Friday doing stuff. Our good pal
Bovada has you playing Rocket League with plus 300.
Damn. You ain't gonna make any fucking money off that shit.
Nope.
But then I'll be back Friday with something. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of in this place with streaming where it's kind of like I can't do anything where I play music, so I can't play Rocksmith. I can't play marbles and play music. So it's like it's this weird thing where it's like the stuff that I would normally like to do aside from Rocket League I kind of can't do. But it is what it is. But and then you'll be back on Sunday, and you'll be back with some good fun stuff, because we're not gonna,
as always,
we're not gonna watch Cowboys, because why would we ever do that? That's not even fun to do anymore. Charlie, thank you so much for hanging out on the podcast tonight. I don't know why I said it like that. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to combine these two VODs, because I'm doing great. Charlie, we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless it. You know what? Here's what we're gonna do.
This Wednesday schedule.
Here's what we're gonna do. For Charlie Zarasuela, I am Mitchell Barrett. This is the MC Gamecast. See you guys later.
Pasta.
Please turn me over.
Come on, Nevada.
Goodbye, everybody.